I like this kind of sci-fi. That's how I stay engaged. I don't get burnt out that often. I think I have a little bit of buyer's remorse. I love this feeling of being so excited by a book. Hello and welcome to the BookTube channel, Jack in the Book Stack, where I talk about a wide variety of book genres and the bookish lifestyle. And you will see both of those things in this weekly reading vlog because I have a wide variety of book genres planned to read this week. And I have a lot of lifestyle things going on. So first and foremost, I have some family staying with me, my aunt and my cousin and their 2 large dogs. So we have a full house. Lots of activities planned with that. It was kind of unexpected, but I'm enjoying my time with them nonetheless. So this morning I'm getting some patio furniture delivered so we can enjoy the pool a lot. Super hot here in Phoenix, so it's going to be awesome. And also preparing for a pool party this weekend, a pirate themed pool party, which will be very, very fun. And today we're doing a fun activity with the dogs because it's too hot to walk them. And with 4 of them in the house, it's a lot of energy. So we have this mobile van coming that has treadmills in the back. And so they run themselves. The dogs can choose their own speed. It's not like an electric treadmill that goes at the same speed and you have to like run to keep up. It goes at whatever speed they want to go, and as soon as they decide they're done, it stops. So I've done it with my dogs before. It's super fun. They like it. So we're gonna do that today. So it's a fun day. And then last night I started a new read, so I will probably kick off this vlog reading that book. The book is Chain Gang All-Stars. This is a sci-fi. It's classified as. And I always say in my videos, I don't like sci-fi, but it's kind of like, I don't like sci-fi, or like there's an asterisk by it, because sci-fi is such a broad term and it means different things to different people, and there's different, like it's a spectrum, right? And so this one seems like one I could really enjoy, so that's why I want to give it a shot. This is a dystopian sci-fi, which is like a subcategory of literature I really enjoy. I love dystopian stories. And this has commentary on the American prison system. We have a world that, it reminds me a lot of the Hunger Games because prisoners can compete and fight to the death. And the winner of this tournament gains their freedom. They get to go free. So very violent and bloody. You can see like the whole idea of Hunger Games, like competing to the death. And then this is also providing entertainment for others, the more privileged people. So I have started this. I am on page 54 right now, and initial impressions are that it really drops you in, and there's a lot of POVs and there's a lot to understand and keep track of. Like, I prefer when the first chapters explain the world and the situation to me, and that's not the case here. We like start off in a battle and there's different people in this system, and then there's someone on the outside that is, I don't know, I don't even know all the characters, but there's characters on the outside that view this as entertainment, they love watching it, and then we see some other people that are very uncomfortable with it. We have some people that are like activists that are trying to casually, like in their downtime, like protest what's going on here because it is actually murder. It doesn't matter if these are prisoners. This is, you know, competing to the death. So far I'm intrigued, but I'm overwhelmed. So I do have this physically and I have the audio. Right now I'm trying to immersively read it because I need to just understand what's going on. So I'm listening to it and reading it with my eyeballs because I'm trying to like figure out the names, like match the names with the characters and understanding their motivations, like where they stand on the moral spectrum with this whole competition thing. And there's this very vibrant, like, announcer, like a TV personality type that reminds me a lot of Hunger Games too, where he's like narrating this and trying to like hype up the crowd, like Gladiator style, right? Trying to hype up the crowd and get them like engaged in what's going on. Very manipulative. So there's a lot of characters, and I'm still learning the lay of the land. So this will be my read for tonight and tomorrow, hopefully. I do have some other books that I would like to pick up, but we'll see how that goes. I'm sure you'll find out here shortly. So that's the plans going into this week. Well, I mean, it's the middle of the week, I guess, going into this video. Those are the plans. Happy Wednesday, and let's have some fun. Here is the fire pit furniture. We're missing one chair, it was damaged. So we're gonna wait and reorder that. But here's the setup. Here are the books that I'm going to take into the used bookstore. I'm going to see if I can sell them to them so I can get some store credit to buy some new and used books in exchange. Happy Friday! It is Friday morning. I am back at work, which is super painful since yesterday was a holiday, had the day off, and I was all relaxed, and now I'm back at it. Although I've been super productive at work so far this morning, lots of like administrative type stuff to catch up on. So it's been good, and I thought I would take a moment to update you. I finished my read of Chain Gang All-Stars, and firstly, I was telling you guys I don't typically like sci-fi, so I was hesitant about picking this up, but I like dystopia. I like this kind of sci-fi. I really like that dystopian element. It worked for me. There was another element, like technology-wise, where the inmates had like handcuffs. I can't tell if the handcuffs were like part of their body, and the authorities could change the status of them, so they could change colors on their wrist. They could see on their wrist it changed colors, and they know they can't speak. If they speak, they'll get a shock. They'll get like electrocuted. So that's how they keep the prisoners quiet. And it was another interesting form of isolation, is not letting them speak. And the ones in the competition could speak like when cameras were around, but other prisoners like hadn't spoken in like years. And so I thought that was really interesting. There were a couple of other examples how the authorities used technology to control these prisoners, which added to the commentary on the American prison system. I never came around to the writing style. It did not work for me throughout the entirety of the book. There were just so many random POVs that made it very chaotic. I think the intention of that was to really show how society reacted to this extreme type of sports, this like fight to the death, and also show how people dehumanized the prisoners. So I get why the author made this decision in the writing style, but it prevented me from truly connecting with the characters that I think I was supposed to connect to, and I didn't need that point driven home for me. So the writing style just focused on the wrong thing, in my opinion. Something else I didn't realize I was looking for until I noticed it was not there. I was hoping that the commentary would have focused more on like the poverty cycle, how people end up in prison, and then we don't really rehabilitate them at all, so this cycle kind of continues. And also how different groups of people are disproportionately affected by the prison system, disproportionately in the prison system. There were some fantastic footnotes in this that I think shows the author did a lot of research, and I'm assuming that they are facts, because in the acknowledgements, the author mentions a lot of sites, like he's thanking some different institutions and organizations for their help with his research, so I'm assuming that this stuff is based on fact. Very interesting. However, it just lists out these facts at you, throws them at you, and I would have loved it like absorbed into the plot more. I wanted to understand more about what's wrong with the prison system rather than just like listing these facts. I wanted it in the plot more. And so I was hoping more on the poverty cycle, but we did not explore that. There was mention of like how different races are impacted, but that was about it. I was pretty disappointed with this read. I landed on a rating of 2.5 stars. I was hoping this would be more thought-provoking with the backdrop of this really interesting plot, very unique, and these different sci-fi elements that I was actually looking forward to, but I think it missed the mark. I think the book intended to be thought-provoking, but my thoughts were not provoked. And the ending was okay. It didn't go in the direction that I wanted it to, so I feel kind of unsatisfied. It was an interesting ending, but I feel unsatisfied with the direction it went. So with the plot, there wasn't enough closure for me or satisfaction. It didn't give me the social commentary, the thought-provoking social commentary that I really wanted from this, and the confusing writing style that made it hard for me to connect to the characters is why I rate this a 2.5. Last night I did start my read of When the Moon Hatched. This is a very popular romantasy that is making its rounds. It's like super hyped right now on all the bookish social medias. It's a romantasy. I think it has fae, it has dragons, so I mean it has all those like buzzwords that the girlies love. And I started this, I have it on my Kindle. I checked out from Kindle Unlimited. I also have the audiobook from Libby, and then my cousin who's staying with me has the paperback version. So I have 3 formats to choose from for this read. I started this and I could not put it down. I had heard that the first 20% of this book is very info dumpy and like heavy on the world building, and like people tend to like not enjoy it in the first part or DNF it, but they say like once they pushed through, they loved it. And a lot of people, okay, this has been 5-star or 2-star reviews that I've seen on BookTube, like no in between. So it seems very popular. I could not put it down. I devoured 36% of this book in one sitting. And it's a long book. There's like 600 or 700 pages. Like the paperback is a brick. I really, really liked this, that like I was reading it and I ordered the paperback edition. That's going to be here tomorrow because I need to have this in my hands. I'm enjoying it so much. We have a main character that is just a badass female. She's an assassin and she's violent and she's gritty and she is so sarcastic, which I can see rubbing people the wrong way because at times I was a little bit annoyed with like how abrasive she is and like talking back, but then I kind of like it. Like I kind of like when female characters don't cower and back down when they're in tough situations. They're like, well, I mean, I'm screwed anyways, so I'm just gonna talk some smack while I'm at it. And I kind of liked it. It could be annoying, but I think overall I kind of liked it. And we have dragons introduced already. The magic, I'm still getting my head wrapped around. So I can see why that could be a little bit confusing because we just dive in. We just dive into this book. And the beginning, the first pages, there's like 7 or 8 pages of like glossary and pronunciation guides and like a list of the different creatures in this world. So the magic I think is going to be complex, but what I like 36% of the way in is this is pure fantasy so far. There is no romance. I'm pretty sure we've met the love interest, but this is not romantasy at this point. This is just plot and our main character, and I really like it. So we have her point of view, and then we have this other kid who's like 8, I think. And so we get, it's like 70% this main character, and I'm forgetting her name right now. It's a little bit different for me, but it's like 70% her point of view and then like 30% this other kid. The kid's name is Ellen? It's this like weird cursive kind of writing. And Rave is the female main character that I'm really enjoying so far. So 36% of the way in, and like I feel like I could just binge read the rest of this tonight. I don't know. I have some cleaning to do because my pool party is tomorrow. So this is why I love having different formats of it, because I can just pop in my earbuds and listen to the audiobook while I'm like washing the floor, while I'm preparing the food, while I'm, doing all that kind of stuff. So we will see how it goes. I'm so excited. Like I cannot wait to finish work today. I have to finish work and then I have a Spanish class and then I can start listening to this, and I'm so anxious. I love this feeling. I was up late last night reading this. I'm so excited to get back to it today. I love this feeling of being so excited by a book. And it's a romantasy, which is strange because normally though that genre doesn't get me this excited. But those are the plans for today, going into the weekend. So I gotta get back to work.
Soy mexicana, vivo en México. Soy profesora de español desde hace 13 años. Porque me gusta mucho la gramática. Esta soy yo.
It's Sunday now, and even though I had the best of intentions to listen to my audiobook for When the Moon Hatched while I was prepping for the party, I was much too high-strung to do that. So I did not read a single page. I did not listen to a single minute yesterday, but I did really enjoy my pirate-themed pool party. The Caribbean theme, like, really everybody invested in it and contributed and dressed up, and it was so fun. It was super hot, so the pool water was not really refreshing, but hey, the theme was on point, the food was good, the drinks were flowing. My Caribbean seawater was a hit. We guzzled that down so fast we didn't know what happened, and then, strangely enough, we didn't really notice the heat anymore. Also, I just got a delivery from Amazon, and I was going to unbox this with you. So this is the book that I'm reading right now, and I was at, I don't know, maybe 25% of the way in on the 4th of July, and I was loving it so much that I went and ordered it online from Amazon because I was like, I can't wait. And then now I kept reading, and now that I'm at 56%, I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit frustrated because the main character, I could see how she could be a little bit annoying, but it wasn't getting to me that much until 56%, and now I'm like, okay, this is a little bit overkill. She needs to calm down. So I'm talking about When the Moon Hatched, and okay, main character is sarcastic and snarky, and she talks back, and I kind of like it when she's talking back to authorities, but now that she's talking back to her love interest, I'm like, okay, when are we going to move on? Because this isn't banter anymore, this is just painful. Like, you're being a jerk for no reason. Like, he's showing you good signs, like he's looking out for you, he's being considerate, and you're still going to talk about killing him all the time. Like, can you get over yourself? And the problem I have with Romantasy a lot of times is the female main characters and them being driven by their emotions. And this is an example of that. So I'm hoping that it gets better in the second half. But either way, I have a fancy new paperback edition of the book. To stay on the self-imposed reading schedule that I made for myself, I have to finish this book today. So it's Sunday morning, I just ordered groceries for the week, so I'm going to be picking those up. I did all my cleaning, right? And I'm in like the party letdown mode. Like, the adrenaline is spent, so I kind of just want to lay around and like rot into the couch. So very possible I can finish reading this today, and I have, geez, all three formats now. I have the audiobook, I have the Kindle if I want to go hang out by the pool again, and I have this fancy paperback. So no matter what format I'm in the mood for, When the Moon Hatched is on the agenda. So I need to finish this today, maybe start my next book. I think I have a nonfiction book picked out for my next read because I like to alternate the genres that I read. That's one reason I read so much. So firstly, I read that dystopian sci-fi. Now I'm moving to a romantasy. Then I'm doing a nonfiction. And then I'm thinking maybe a thriller after that. So mixing up the genres, mixing up the formats, that's how I stay engaged. I don't get burnt out that often if I mix up formats, tones, genres, all that good stuff. So I'm excited. The week is coming together, and I'm gonna relax today, get ready for a fresh new work week starting tomorrow. It's always depressing going into a work week knowing there's not a holiday in the middle of the week. It's like a full work week this week, so that's a bummer. But anyways, yes, those are my plans. So I'm gonna get going, rotting into that couch. the next day and I'm here to close out my weekly reading vlog. Last night I finished a book. I attended a Spanish class, which was very great, and I settled into the couch to read my Kindle book. However, I did not film because tragedy struck, and I realized that the sapphire ring that I wear every day, it's my favorite piece of jewelry, it's very sentimental, one of the sapphires fell out. And so instead of reading, I was tearing my house apart trying to figure out what happened to it. And I think it happened like after the Spanish class, because like I was taking notes and I was writing, and so I would have seen if it was missing, because it like really stands out to me. And I am devastated. I really am upset. I'm in a horrible mood today. I'm like nauseous, sick, because not only losing a stone is it incredibly expensive. Sapphires are a rare stone similar to diamonds, but it's hugely sentimental. It's such a sentimental piece to me, and I'm really upset. So I did not feel like reading. I don't know if I even feel like doing this update right now because my mood is so off, but I have to move forward, right? It's like first world problems. I think of like the clip of Keeping Up with the Kardashians when Kim Kardashian loses her diamond earring in the ocean and she's like losing her mind about it. I was not that bad, but I definitely was tearing my house apart yesterday and retracing my steps and trying to figure out, like, I mean, down to going through the bins of dog food and sifting through them to see if it like popped off while I was feeding the dogs. Like, that's how detailed I was last night. So needless to say, I did not read much. Let's talk about the books that I did finish this week. So I finished When the Moon Hatched, and wow, this was a roller coaster. When I was checking in with you guys, I was saying how excited I was. So for the first 30%, I loved it. For the next 40%, I hated it. And then the final 30%, I really liked. So why is that? This is a stereotypical romantasy, for better or for worse. It is very repetitive of things that we have seen in other books. Things such as the line, "Who hurt you?" or "Who did this to you?" There's the insecurity of the love interest. In this case, it's the female main character who says, "Oh, I can't fall in love because every time I get close to someone, they die." And that was very strong. We have the male character, the love interest, being described just like every other male love interest. Tall, muscled, chiseled, broad chest, moving within the shadows, right? Always shadows. And I'm kind of sick of male interests being described all the same way. But being stereotypical romantasy isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you are looking for another ACOTAR, another fourth wing, then, you know, there's going to be a lot of things that you're comfortable with, that you're looking for in this book. In the second part of the book, or I don't know when it picked up, but we did get additional POVs. I mentioned 2 that we had, but we did get other POVs throughout this. And another frustrating point that I had was that there were so many plot points that were thrown out there. It's like the author was just, I'm going to throw this out and see what sticks. I'm going to see what's popular before I decide how I want the story to go. And she never committed to the plot like I needed her to. So I am going to read the next book because I am very interested in the magic. I am intrigued by the plot, but we didn't focus as much on that as I wanted to. Like the first 30% when we're getting introduced to the world and everything, that's what I was into and I wanted more information about. What frustrated me was the female main character, who is the definition of a female main character that I hate in romantasy. Very emotionally driven, very into herself, like not thinking strategically. But then the other thing is I hated the chemistry between our two characters. I hated their dialogue. That middle 40% I hated was pretty much them and the dialogue between them having the same conversation for like a huge chunk of this book. Whole conversation is, without spoiling it, you know, him wanting to get close to her and her holding him at arm's length, not allowing it. And she just keeps saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna slit your throat in your sleep," you know, and it's like, I was really liking her attitude and talking back to the authority. And at first, like the banter with the love interest, it was cute, but it just never ended. And it was insufferable. So I did not like the chemistry between them. So having such a huge focus on the romance is what really drove down my enjoyment of this book. And also like a confused plot, no direction, author was not committed to what she was doing with this story. It felt like, to me at least. There were also these supporting characters introduced, like Grimm and Peter and Fallon. Like Rave talks about emotional damage related to Fallon, but I don't think we ever heard who Fallon was. Like Rave was just so upset, like, I wonder what Fallon would think about this. And I'm like, okay, who is that? It's kind of like a prequel is missing. And you know what it made me think of? It made me think of Throne of Glass. Because if you did not read the prequel first, then when our main character is so upset about the Sam guy, you wouldn't know who Sam is, or like why our main character is like holding on to this emotional damage. So this kind of reminded me of Throne of Glass in that situation. And there were also some other plot points that made me think of Throne of Glass. So like I said, very, very reminiscent of some other tales that we have heard before. I think I have a little bit of buyer's remorse. I don't know if I should have bought a paperback edition of this book because I landed on a rating of 2.5 stars, which for me, how I rate things, everything starts at a 3 stars, like that is the neutral status. And because that middle section was so lengthy and so insufferable, it dropped it down. Like I was not enjoying the reading process. But I will read the next book in the series. Hopefully it'll be available on Kindle Unlimited so I can read it for free and then decide if I want to continue owning these books. But I do want to see what is going to happen next. It ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger. Next, you saw me pick up Sundial, which I mentioned was a thriller, but in looking at GoodReads, it's classified as a horror, and after reading it, I think I agree it leans more towards horror. But this one was interesting. So it is about a woman in a toxic marriage who faces a situation where she needs to get one of her 2 daughters out of the house. She goes back to her childhood home in the Mojave Desert. It's referred to as Sundial. And we have a couple different POVs. We have her POV, present, her POV, past, as she is recounting a story of her childhood, to her daughter, Callie, who's another POV that we get in this story. First and foremost, I am so thankful to the BookTube channel GoodReads, who left a comment on one of my other videos when I was talking about Sundial, and she mentioned that this book can be a little bit difficult to read for animal lovers. So huge trigger warning for those that don't like to read about animal cruelty, because there is a lot of plot points around animal testing on dogs. And what I did is I just skimmed past it. But I was surprised how frequent it was. If I was not prepared for that, I would have DNF'd this, I would have hated it, I would have been angry. But thankfully, that comment really helped set my expectations and prepared me for what was in this book. So most of that you see in the past timelines, like when she's recounting her story, because her parents were involved in animal testing on dogs. I don't know if it was the frequency of the animal testing that made me feel so grossed out by this book, but regardless of which POV we were in, I hated the characters. I hated the person that was narrating it. I hated the supporting characters that were in their story. I just wanted everyone to die. I did not enjoy this. And so I think it also disconnected me from the plot, and I just felt like I didn't care what would happen next. At 90%, I passionately wanted to DNF this. And it's not like I was angry at the animal scenes or anything like that. I just really didn't like anybody, and I really didn't care. If at 90% you don't even care what happens, like this should be the peak climax of the story, right? Like where you can't put it down. And at 90%, I was like, I don't even care about picking this up again. I want to do something else because it made me feel icky. Like, I don't know if anxious is the right term. It's not like it was so fast-paced and so horrific. You know, it wasn't like that kind of anxiety. It was just this anxiety where I just felt gross. It put me in a bad mood. And this is before I found out what happened with my Sapphire. So can't even blame it on that. But it just put me kind of in a bad place. There was a little bit of ambiguity in the ending, but in a satisfying way, if that makes sense. Like, there was ambiguity in the ending, but I still felt resolved. And it was, in horror, I kind of like a little bit of an open ending that adds to the creepy feeling. So I actually was very satisfied with how it ended, but still with this one, I landed on a rating of, again, like 2 stars. For my Kindle read of Ultra Processed People, I am at about 26% of the way into the book. I am enjoying it, but it is very, very science heavy. So I find myself kind of skimming when the author goes on a tangent of like a research project and all the controls they set up, like how they conducted this experiment or the study, like that kind of stuff I don't care about. I care about the facts and some of the supporting evidence with it, but like I don't need to go into like how they came to this conclusion. So very science heavy, but I am enjoying it, getting some good information. It's definitely not something I can binge read, so that's why I didn't force myself to finish it. And I mean, I would have liked to have finished it last night, but I was not in the headspace where I gave a damn about nutrition. I wanted all the processed food because I wanted to comfort eat because I was so mad. But I will keep reading it. It's due back at Libby very soon, but I turned my Kindle on airplane mode so that it will be returned so the next reader can pick it up, but it's stuck on my device until I finish. So I can't even turn this back on to check out another book from Kindle Unlimited or something because I'm gonna force myself to read this. Overall, a pretty solid reading week. I'm very impressed with the variety that I was able to accomplish. A nonfiction, a fantasy romance, a horror, and a sci-fi with social commentary. Like, that is amazing. That is the perfect reading week for me. And even though these didn't get strong ratings, like nothing was 3 stars or above, I still think it was a successful week because I love the variety and I was able to read books that I was really anxious to experience. So not everything is about the ratings, right? I'm just really excited that I got to experience these books, see some different perspectives, and go into some different worlds for a little while. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this weekly reading vlog. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.